The Orbiter was originally debuted in 1976 at Dreamworld Margate in the UK. The ride was a product of Richard Wool's and his brother-in-law Bob Nichols, who would joke to the engineer and former ride showman that he should design his own ride with the amount of time he was spending repairing other people's rides. Rides at the time were slowly embracing the new hydraulic technology that was slowly becoming more and more popular. Most new rides at the time were really just old rides slightly enhanced by the addition of hydraulics. A great example of this was the Paratrooper, which was moving from a fixed-in-place version to one with a hydraulic lifting arm. Wool's wanted to create an entirely new ride that would not be possible without this new technology. The first Orbiter completely changed the face of the fairground, bringing it from the past where slower, simpler rides were the norm, and propelling it into the present day. The original Orbiter, made by Wool's company Tivoli Enterprises, used 6 large, fixed sweep arms. At the end of these sweeps, there was a lifting arm, which was then attached to a smaller sweep arm holding 3 rider vehicles. This gave the ride a total of 18 rider vehicles, each seating 2 riders, for a capacity of 36 riders per cycle. The large sweeps could rotate at up to 18 revolutions per minute, with the smaller sweeps tilting up to 90 degrees and spinning at up to 20 revolutions per minute. This made for a very thrilling and intense ride, especially for the time. The original Mark I Orbiter design had some features that would cause some problems for early adopters. The first was a center pay box, meaning that riders who wanted to pay for a ride on the machine would need to enter the ride area first and go to the center of the ride where the operator was located. The second would be the setup of the floors. Originally, they had to be stacked and rebuilt every time the ride was moved. Finally, the cars were built with folding steps, as without them it would be difficult for riders to enter them. These problems would be solved with the Mark II Orbiter. The Mark II was introduced in 1977, just 1 year later. It moved the pay box to the outside of the ride, it featured folding floors, allowing for easier transport, and most importantly, it featured a new hydraulic system that could lift the center of the ride. This allowed it to lower to the loading position and then rise to a safe position before starting the ride cycle, cutting down on load and unload times by removing the step assembly. The Mark II Orbiter was also more intense, allowing for speeds of up to 20 revolutions per minute on the center sweeps. Many showmen in the UK would build their own Orbiters, with some manufacturing them for others, as well as several small companies forming to build Orbiters in the UK, such as Norse and Power. The Orbiter would end up becoming widely copied by other manufacturers. The Mark II would become the most popular model of the Orbiter, being produced well into the 2000s. The modern Tivoli Orbiter has a few minor changes from the Mark II, including the addition of over-the-shoulder restraints on the rider vehicles and floorless seats. In 1997, Tivoli would introduce the Remix. This would be the successor to the Orbiter, with the largest difference being the ability for the rider vehicles to invert. This ride will receive its own episode in Flat Ride Friday. Several companies like Fabry have also made Orbiters. With this, the design of the Orbiter has changed slightly over the years. Today, Fabry sells the Super Orbiter. This ride has the option of being made smaller than the original Orbiter, with the option of just 12 cars instead of 18. It also adds extra thrill by tilting the cars up to 120 degrees, kind of like a remix. The Fabry version can be differentiated from the original Tivoli version by looking at the center of the ride. The Fabry version does not lift vertically in the center. Instead, the entire ride is on a giant hydraulic arm, kind of like an Enterprise. Once at full speed, the ride will tilt up about 30 degrees into the air, making for an even more thrilling ride. Though Orbiters were originally designed to be transportable rides, several permanent versions were installed as well. Today there are only a few park models still operating, with one of the most well-known being Flying Machine at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, as well as another being Honker Dinker Derby at Sesame Place in PA. Both of these rides showcase the Orbiter's flexibility, with both running at lower speeds and reaching a lower maximum angle than the models found at fairgrounds. In this case, both rides are used as family rides rather than as thrill rides. The Orbiter would go on to inspire the Remix, which will be covered in a future episode, but the legacy of the Orbiter is deeper than that. It signaled the end of the fairground that many had been comfortable with in the post-World War II era, and the beginning of the fairground we know today, filled with some of the most intense and thrilling rides you can find just about anywhere. The Orbiter shattered the idea that fairground rides should be simple and more gentle, setting the stage for future rides that would dominate the fairground. What do you think of Orbiter rides? Have you had a chance to ride one? If we missed something in this video or got something wrong, please correct us in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching and see you next week. As a quick reminder, you can watch all 20 episodes of Flat Ride Friday right now by becoming a channel member.